Sometimes the hardest battle you fight is inside your own mind, the constant replay of moments, conversations, glances that never seem to fade you. Tell yourself it's over, that you should move on, but the thought of that one person keeps looping like a song you can't turn off. Why does your brain do this? Why can't you just forget? Psychologists say that when we connect with someone, our brains release chemicals that link emotion with memory. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, they act like emotional glue. They attach significance to that person. And every time you think of them, your brain releases tiny reminders of that pleasure and connection. So even when the relationship ends, the brain continues chasing that high. This isn't weakness, it's biology, but deeper than chemistry lies meaning, because sometimes the person you can't stop thinking about didn't just touch your heart. They awakened a part of your soul. Maybe they reflected something you needed to see about yourself. Maybe they entered your life to teach you about love, patience, or even pain. Our minds don't cling to random people. They cling to lessons, unfinished energy, and emotion, trying to find closure. The more you resist those thoughts, the louder they become. The truth is, you're not addicted to the person, you're addicted to the story, the what-ifs, the unspoken words. The version of you that existed when you were with them. You miss the mirror they held up to you more than you miss them themselves. So what do you do when your mind keeps circling back? First, you accept it. You stop fighting the thought. The more you push it away, the stronger it returns like a wave. The way to disarm it is to observe it without judgment, to say, yes, I see you, memory. Yes, I feel you, emotion, but you don't control me anymore. Awareness breaks the loop. Next, you replace rumination with reflection. Instead of asking, why can't I forget? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Maybe it's showing you where your boundaries were too soft. Maybe it's pointing to your capacity for love. Maybe it's reminding you that you deserve reciprocity, not fantasy. Psychology calls this cognitive reframing. Spirituality calls it acceptance. Both mean the same thing. Turning pain into wisdom. You see, the human brain loves closure, but life rarely gives it. People disappear. Texts stop. Words remain unsaid. And our minds seek completion, like unfinished sentences. But closure is not something they give you. It's something you create by deciding that understanding is enough. You don't need their apology or return to move on. You only need to reclaim your own energy to bring it back home every time you think of them. Imagine drawing that energy inward as if you're gathering pieces of yourself scattered in their memory. Each thought becomes an invitation to return to self. The heart is not broken. It's expanded. It's learning the difference between attachment and connection. Attachment says, I need you to be okay. Connection says, I appreciate what we shared, and I release you with gratitude. When you shift from needing to appreciating, you start healing. Neuroscientists explain that our brains form neural pathways through repetition. So when you replay memories of someone, you strengthen those pathways the same way exercise strengthens muscle. The more you recall them, the more your brain believes they're still here. But here's the secret. The same brain that wired those thoughts can rewire them. It takes awareness, intention, and time. Every time you catch yourself thinking of them, gently redirect your focus. Breathe, ground yourself in the present. Look at your hands, your room, your breath. Remind your mind. This is reality, not memory. The more you practice, the weaker. The emotional charge becomes slowly. The song fades, the volume lowers, until one day you notice silence and peace. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring differently. You stop needing them to fill your emptiness because you've learned to sit with it, to hold your own heart. Psychology meets spirituality here when you realize that every person who touches your life is part of your evolution, not your possession. Their purpose may have been to awaken you, not to stay forever. Think about that. The reason you can't stop thinking about them is because their presence triggered growth, and growth is rarely gentle, but it's always sacred. They came into your story to show you your capacity to love and your willingness to heal. Once that lesson integrates, the obsession fades, not because you forget, but because you understand. When understanding arrives, attachment dissolves. When you begin to understand this process, something changes inside you. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of emotion and start seeing yourself as a student of experience. Your thoughts stop being enemies. They become teachers every time your mind drifts back to that person. Instead of saying, "Why am I still thinking about them?" you begin to say, "What part of me still needs healing?" Perhaps it's the part that fears being forgotten. Perhaps it's the child inside that still seeks validation. Or perhaps it's the version of you that never learned to let go without losing hope. Awareness turns pain into wisdom, and wisdom is the beginning of peace. The people who stay in our minds the longest are often the ones who left something unfinished. They carved a question into us that only we can answer. So instead of chasing them, you start answering the question, why did this connection matter? What truth did it reveal about who I am? When you answer that, the memory starts to soften. Psychologists call this cognitive integration. It means your mind has taken an emotional memory and woven it into your identity instead of keeping it separate and raw. When that happens, thinking about them no longer hurts. It just becomes part of your story, the same way a healed scar becomes part of your skin. You remember, but you don't plead anymore. The narrator voice continues softly, saying, healing is not about forgetting. It's about remembering differently. Every relationship, whether lasting or brief, is like a mirror, showing you how you love, how you give, and how you receive. And sometimes the reason you can't stop thinking about someone is because you were still learning how to love without losing yourself. Maybe they showed you unconditional attention, and now you crave that energy. Maybe they withdrew affection and triggered your abandonment wound. Maybe they represented safety. Maybe they represented danger. Either way, the mind remembers to protect you, not to punish you, so thank it for reminding you what matters. And then tell it we're safe now, we can rest. You see, the body holds memories too. Sometimes when you can't stop thinking about someone, it's because your nervous system associates them with calm or chaos. Your breath, your heartbeat, your hormones all respond to their image, so the healing must happen not only in thought but in body. Breathe deeper, stretch. Release, move your body until it remembers safety without their presence. That's how you retrain the subconscious to detach, and it takes patience because the brain rewires slowly but surely. Every day you choose yourself, the bond weakens. The secret is consistency. Consistency is stronger than emotion. Emotion is temporary, but action builds new reality. So wake up each day and choose to be where you are, not where your mind wanders. Take small steps. Write new memories, meet new people, learn something new. Fill your life with experiences so rich that there's no room left for the ghost of someone who's gone. Your brain will adapt, it always does. Time doesn't heal by magic, time heals because within time, you start building new patterns, new circuits, new meaning. When people say, let go, they don't mean erase, they mean expand. Make your life bigger than that memory, so it fits naturally into a larger story. One chapter, not the whole book. The human heart is vast. It's meant to contain joy and sorrow simultaneously. That's why healing doesn't erase emotion. It integrates it, so don't rush the process if you still think of them. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human and capable of deep feeling. That capacity is your strength, not your curse. Because the same heart that once held them will one day hold peace again, maybe even love again, stronger and wiser. This time, this is how transformation happens, not through forgetting, but through awakening. Every thought of them becomes fuel for growth. Every memory becomes a stepping stone back to yourself. Soon you realize the mind is no longer looping because it found the lesson, and the heart is no longer aching because it accepted truth. You can't stop thinking about someone until you stop needing their story to make sense of your own. Once you own your story, you are free. That freedom feels like stillness, like peace after a storm, like waking up one day and noticing the air feels lighter and your thoughts quieter. You didn't force anything, you just healed. Healing has a rhythm of its own. It moves like the tide, sometimes forward, sometimes back, and that's okay. Progress is rarely straight. You might wake up one morning feeling powerful and free, only to find your mind drifting back to them the next. That doesn't mean you failed, it means your heart is still recalibrating. When you've spent months or years thinking about someone, your brain has formed pathways that feel like home, even if that home was painful. Letting go feels like stepping into unknown territory, but the unknown is where growth hides. Imagine your life as a garden. Some plants thrive, others overgrow, some die and leave space for new life. The person you can't stop thinking about may have been a season in your garden, beautiful, meaningful, but temporary. And when the season ends, you must prune the old so the new can bloom. If you hold on to everything, the garden suffocates. Learning to let go is learning to breathe. Again, neuroscientists talk about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. Every thought you choose is a seed. Every memory you water grows. Whichever one you focus on flourishes. So each time you revisit that person in your thoughts, you're watering a memory that no longer serves you. Start watering the present. Instead, think of something you're grateful for. Notice something beautiful around you. Small steps rewire big patterns. Soon, the memory fades, not because you erased it, but because you nourished something stronger. Awareness is like sunlight. It reveals what's alive and what's no longer needed. The narrator's tone grows reflective, saying love in its purest form is not possession, it's appreciation. When you truly appreciate someone, you don't need to hold them. You simply thank them for their role in your journey, even if their absence hurt. Because absence, too, can be a teacher. It teaches you patience, self-respect, and boundaries. It teaches you how to choose peace over chaos. When you learn that lesson, the obsession turns into gratitude. Psychologists call this transmutation, converting emotional energy into growth energy. It's the same force, but redirected like a river finding a new path. Your mind stops circling around them because you've given it a new mission to become the best version of yourself there. It's a reason many people have their biggest glow-up after heartbreak. It's because pain clears the fog. It forces introspection. It forces renewal. Heartbreak asks you, who are you when you're not defined by someone else? And the moment you answer that honestly, you find your strength returning. You start dressing differently, walking differently, thinking differently. You start realizing you were never chasing the person, you were chasing the feeling they gave you. Validation, attention, excitement, connection. But those feelings are yours to create again through purpose, through creativity, through self-respect. This is the shocking truth. The reason you can't stop thinking about someone is because you outsourced your emotional control to them. Your mind still believes they are the source of joy or pain, but the real source is within you, always was, always will be when you remember. That you take your power back, and taking your power back doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming conscious. It means deciding what deserves your energy and what doesn't. It means being able to say, yes, that happened. Yes, it mattered. And yes, I'm moving forward with love, not resentment. There's maturity in peace, a quiet confidence that says, I learned, I grew, and I wish them well.